go this time on a three-man rush. Gonna backpedal, buy more time. Gotta be somebody open now, yes? Yes, there is! Like I said, another three-man rush right here.
Hello and welcome. And it is lucky week number 21 of the NFL season. It is conference championship game weekend, boys. We are down to the final four. The Super Bowl is on the horizon. I'm your host, Pat Bradley, joined as always by my friends and co-hosts, Carl Mann and Tommy Sullivan. I'm too excited to even speak because this is the Three-Man Rush podcast, America's most beloved casual NFL gambling podcast. A couple of not too shabby, maybe even call them scratch NFL gamblers. Carl, Tommy, we're in the home stretch, boys. Hello.
Yeah, yes, sir. Hopefully that means shorter podcast. Am I right?
You would think logic would dictate less games is less time talking, but with us, we usually we see that as time to elaborate more on games.
30 minutes per game, as if we're talking about Jacksonville versus Houston in the regular season.
Wait, do you see my secret outline where I actually highlighted 30 minutes per game? That's the schedule today.
We were on time today, though. That was good.
Yeah, I mean, always on time, always there where you are. What are the words to that song? It's a 90s song.
I don't know. That's the song.
Okay, we'll just take that part out.
Never.
No
cuts.
Guys, I'm like giddy with excitement, but at the same time, I'm really sad because we're approaching the finish line where I'm not going to get to talk to you guys for like 7 hours at a time about football every week. And I don't know what I'm going to do with myself in the off season because it's a really long off season. It's like we're going to have another podcast.
Are you sure you don't want to dedicate that time to having a better record, or?
I mean, listen, there's other sports to get a better record in.
You should start working on a spreadsheet. Let me tell you, it's exhilarating.
Carl, we went over this. I am ripping off Nick Cage, and just like he stole the Declaration of Independence, I am stealing your spreadsheet. It's like Plankton when he finally gets the super secret Krabby Patty formula.
Except instead of made of Plankton, it's pick opposite of Pat.
I mean, listen, does a spreadsheet really matter when I'm the one putting the input? Like, no,
it doesn't It doesn't matter because spreadsheet only gets you to second place, apparently, if we're going to go by our postseason records.
Ooh, burn. Tommy, why don't you take us through that? What happened last week?
I had the best record of the week. You guys went 500. I went 8-4. And that vaulted me one game ahead of Carl going into the conference championship. And I think there might be a little bit of room for me to expand that lead possibly, but we'll see when the picks come out.
Listen, we'll see how this goes. You told us you're going to be bold here, although Carl just teased that he might flip-flop in the pre-show meeting here. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm really excited to see how this plays out because once again, I'm just watching from the caboose. I'm in last place. So Tommy, you had a nice 8-4 week, and Carl and I went 6-6, which means on the postseason, you are 21-8-1. Carl's 29-1. And I'm the first double-digit loser of the postseason. Just setting records over here. 18-11-1 for me.
Really good.
Listen, we've got 2 weeks of postseason action left, so let's not have my funeral just yet, shall we?
And regardless, even though you're third out of 3 of us, you're still really. It's a good record.
You're on the podium.
I'm not. No, I'm not even being sarcastic.
You want to know something? People who know anything about me know my history. This is like I shouldn't even tell this story. This is like kind of embarrassing. I was an Irish step dancer growing up, and there's not a lot of boys that do that. It's far fewer. But the first time I ever competed in like the New England regional when I was, I think in like 4th grade, like 10-ish or something. I wasn't even 10. I was like 9 years old. I came in second place in the regionals, and I got this huge ass trophy. And my parents were like, you got to bring it to school, like show it off. So I brought it into school. It was raining that day. My mom gave me like a trash bag to put over it so it wouldn't get wet. So I'm carrying this giant trophy in a trash bag, and I walk in and I like take it out of the trash bag, and people are like, whoa. My teacher's like, whoa. There's this like nice nun, and she's like, what? Did you win? And I was like, no, I got second place. She's like, that's okay. It's so good. And I was like, yeah, right. And I'm feeling myself. And they're like, how many people were in the competition? And I was like 35. There was 2.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever told that story before because it's like one of those things you look back on.
I think I've heard that story, but as the edited to 35 version.
Yeah. So listen, just being on the podium, when you said you're on the podium, I had flashbacks to over 20 years ago of me being on the same podium, but still being the biggest fucking loser. So
I have to say, I like imagining like a 3-person podium, looking to your left and seeing that third spot empty while you're in the second spot has to be worse than actually getting third.
I just remember, like praying, like, please let me win. And then like wanting to be a good sport when I lost, but it's like that gut punch. And like, you're 9 years old and you really want to like kick a guy in the shins, but like, I don't know. Thankfully, I didn't do that. I didn't push him off number 1, take his trophy. It's a sweet trophy. I still have it somewhere at my parents' house. But yeah, that's
try and get it for the next pod. Just put it right in the background.
For the Super Bowl. I can replace the fantasy football belt with my 2nd out of 2 Johnny Nash trophy.
You should actually give that to our friend John because you beat him in the championship match of our league this year.
It's the runner-up trophy.
Yes.
Amazing. Well, I'm glad we're not having my funeral yet, although I just roasted myself as if I were dead. But speaking of funerals, Tommy, like you've come dressed for one.
Oh yeah, I mean, usually you're supposed to wear. This is for the podcast listeners. I'm wearing a royal blue zip up right now because the Bills season is over, and usually we wear black to a funeral, but I feel like this color is more fitting as a send off for Buffalo.
It is. I like it. I like what you did, and you've got like the cool hat on too. Like,
yep. I don't know if people can see it, but it's a Kentucky Derby hat where like all the little colors are actually jockeys. And I think it's actually fitting for the weekend we're going into because we're in it's the 4 horsemen of the NFL right now between the Eagles, 49ers, Chiefs, and Bengals.
I love that because the 4 horsemen, like what do they represent? Like the end of time, like they usher in the apocalypse, which is maybe what we just witnessed for the Buffalo Bills last week.
Yeah. It feels like this could possibly be a window closing moment. Like there's going to be hope for next season, but I don't like these past 2 years have been like their golden opportunity, and unlike the 90s, they couldn't even make the Super Bowl to lose. So,
would you rather make 4 straight Super Bowls and lose, or never make a Super Bowl at all? Or like the next 20 years, 30 years of not making the playoffs, or making the playoffs and getting close, like being the best team in the regular season and then losing early. Like what? Like it's just it's like tough. A tortured fan base.
Well, I mean, I was gonna say we can't talk about it as Patriots fans too much, but like we still look back on 18-1 on that season, even though we have 7 other championship seasons. Like you still look back on that one, like that was like the pinnacle of what it should have been, and it was that season was all for naught. And it's just like it's a tough moral quandary. I would probably prefer what did I do?
Go ahead, continue.
I was just gonna say it's a tough moral quandary because like you probably want the hope of like a good season and not like just like these bad seasons that the Bills had gone through in between the 90s era and the Josh Allen. Is this where you're gonna lead into bringing Tom Brady back? Is this because I can see the gleam in your eye?
Tommy Sullivan, who has jumped off the Tom Brady bandwagon, just said we had 7 championship seasons, and you would only say that unless you're a Tom Brady fan because the Patriots only won 6.
Fudge. Crap. He did win me money on that one Super Bowl, so I counted for myself.
You're welcome. Shout out to New Hampshire for legalizing sports betting.
That's fair.
Before Massachusetts. Yeah, listen, just to put a pin in the Bills there which maybe I've been doing with my voodoo doll all season. And you would believe that based on their injuries. I'm just going to call back here, and we were trying to figure it out. I don't remember if I said it to you guys not on a recording or if it got cut from the preseason pod or if it was in our lost archive week 1, week 2 this year that never saw the light of day. But there was a story in the preseason about the Bills punter, Matt, like Areza. I don't even know how you say his last name. I don't really care. Long story short, like really, really ugly, awful, graphic sexual assault allegations that came out. And the Bills knew about it, decided to keep it quiet, decided to give him a contract, and we're going to have him on the team. And it was proven that they knew about it, and they made that decision anyway. They only cut him, and then it came out, and they weren't going to cut him. They were like, "This is nothing." They kind of shoved it under the rug. It's in the past, whatever. And then the public pressure mounted so greatly that they had to cut him. And all I'm going to say is this: at the time, I told you I would believe in the Buffalo Bills when karma was maybe on their side. I also just said they have to get it done, and I haven't seen them get it done. Their sphincter's kind of tight, get kind of tight when it matters. But I also just said this is really bad karma. And then can we just look at the string here, the sequence of events? Tre'Davious White coming back from his torn ACL was supposed to be ready in August, September. Didn't play until much later in the season, and he sucked all year. Who got hurt in September? Micah Hyde almost broke his neck. Kind of a freak incident, right? Jordan Poyer tears, I think strains his MCL, winds up missing games, playing through it, coming back, tears his meniscus, is playing on a torn meniscus the whole season. Who else was it? Von Miller tears his ACL in November. Late October, I skipped a month. Josh Allen basically torn his ulnar collateral ligament in his elbow. That's the UCL. If you don't know what that is, if you've ever heard of Tommy John surgery, it's when the ligament that lets your elbow flex and extend, allows you to throw, it rips, it tears. Freak thing. We never see that happen to quarterbacks. And the few who have ever had it done and had surgery just don't come back. They're cooked. Which it was severely underreported. Everybody forgot. They're just oh, Josh Allen is fine because he played through this. No, he should have had season-ending surgery and he didn't. And he was never the same after that. And then we all know what happened to DeMar Hamlin. And then even this week, the freak play towards the end of the game, Jordan Poyer and who was it? Tre'Davious White, both diving for a ball and wind up colliding head-to-head contact, both probably in the concussion protocol. We're probably not going to hear about it because their season's over, but they both had to leave that game. I mean, how many bad things have to happen to the Buffalo Bills before I don't know. I believe in karma. That's all I'm telling you. So I don't know, maybe don't give sexual predators contracts and try to brush those things under the rug.
Any sort of leeway.
Yeah. Don't be pieces of shit. And then maybe I'm not telling, draw your own conclusions, but I believe in karma. We'll leave it at that. Fair?
So what happens if the Patriots sign him next year? Do we get the bad karma?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Absolutely. We talked about that too, because listen, he's a talented punter. That doesn't matter.
It doesn't even matter if he's talented. He's a lefty, so that's what they're looking for.
And he's a lefty punter.
And
so
he's
God
a lefty
forbid.
and he's available.
God forbid. Right. And he has a black mark on him, so he probably comes cheap. And no, Tommy, you brought that up, and I'm worried. Yeah, I'm worried. It's a quote unquote value from a cost perspective move, and I really hope the Patriots don't do it. But we have Orchids of Asia, and they definitely knew what Aaron Hernandez did at Florida, almost killed a guy before they drafted him. So there's some shady things in their past, and let's just hope they don't add this to it. All right, we can move on from the Patriots and the Buffalo Bills. I do think that window might be shut, but that's a different, longer conversation for another day. For now, it's Conference Championship Sunday. And I'm going to open with this fun fact for you guys. The number one seed has not won the Super Bowl since the Eagles last won the Super Bowl with Nick Foles in that remarkable, still haunts me to this day, victory over Tom Brady. Speaking of Super Bowl losses that hurt us to this day, Tommy, no number one seed has won, which would probably spell bad news for one of the Eagles or Chiefs, because if they both make it, that means the number one seed has to win. I don't know if that means anything, just happens to be the trend. We'll see if who among us picks the Eagles or the Chiefs. I have a feeling somebody will. We know that those are Tommy's teams, so we'll see how it goes with the spread this weekend. I don't know, any opening thoughts or reactions to that stat?
No, I mean it certainly is telling, but I feel like the NFL schedule, especially with like how more valuable the bye is with one team getting the bye, I feel like we're going to start to see more one seeds at least make it to the Super Bowl with more frequency and probably winning it as well. I am interested to see how our picks go this week, because I will say I think outside of Carl picking the Bills last week, I think all of our straight up picks were correct. Am I wrong about that?
Well, are you talking about for this past week?
Yeah, like going in like divisional weekend, I think we as a whole went 11-1 on straight up picks.
We did.
And one of the like I said in the text thread, even your Bills pick, you said that you wouldn't pick the Bills if you hadn't already chosen them as your Super Bowl team.
Correct.
So we're collectively riding a heater this week, but we'll see if there's some dissension in the ranks, and we'll see if how that goes on.
Somebody's going to wind up with in last place, and confident Pat thinks it's not going to be him.
I came in here guns a-blazing, so karma is probably going to come back and bite me if I had to guess.
Listen, I'm consistently in last place here, and I told you in October that I bet the 49ers to win the Super Bowl. I told you 2 or 3 weeks ago that I picked the Super Bowl exact result, 30-1 odds, 49ers over Bengals. Carl, what did you say to me in the text thread? It'd be kind of funny if the guy who keeps coming in last place picks the exact result of the Super Bowl and is right.
Yeah, like your record on the podcast is so bad, but like in real life, like you're not that bad.
Pitching strays.
Seriously.
I mean, just facts over feelings. Like your mom listens to this pod, she probably picks better games than you. So
speaking of my mom, there was I'm just gonna apologize because we mentioned something last week that I didn't think she knew what it was, and I sent you guys the text, and she knew what it was, and it was a pretty funny text. So sorry, Mom.
Yeah,
but thanks for the entertainment.
But we don't have to. We're not going to get into details because we haven't even narrowed it down yet. But next year we might give Pat a chance to put his real life skills to the test and the overall records for picking every single game, which does not help Pat.
Well, because what did I tell you?
We might make some changes for that.
Like, I don't bet every game like how many games a week do I say I'm staying away from this one? I'm not putting money on this in real life. Like
100%.
This is not a Skittles game. This is pick it for the podcast, but like pick it and stick it and get out. Right. Like we do it because that's our show. Yep. But IRL, I'm a little bit better than my record.
Yeah. Says. And with receipts.
With receipts.
Can verify.
I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Well, let's dive in because the first game of Championship Sunday is the NFC Conference Championship game where the number 2 seed San Francisco 49ers head to Philadelphia to take on the number 1 seed Eagles. Eagles are favored by 2.5 in this game. Total is 46 points. Things I thought were interesting. We're not just like chalk minus 110, minus 105 here. On the money line, 49ers are plus 125, and the Eagles are minus 145. Carl, it's not a huge difference than what we normally see, but does anything stand out to you from a Vegas perspective? Simply just not seeing like plus 110, minus 110. Because I thought that was a little weird.
Well, for the spread, is it minus 110, minus 110? Because that's usually what it is for the spread when it's with the lines. But money lines, you will have some variability. But I was seeing some of the spreads at like minus 105 for the Eagles and minus 115 for the 49ers. I'm sorry. Other way around. Minus 105 for the 49ers at plus 2.5. Minus 115 for the Eagles, minus 2.5. Basically, in order to keep it under 3, you have to pay a little bit more for the Eagles.
Yep.
And because you're not getting 3 for the 49ers, you don't have to pay the full 110.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of why it is what it is. It's basically like, do you want to buy the extra half point to give yourself the extra? And they know that if you're going to do that, now you're paying even more of a premium on it because they're setting the lines at the minus 115 right here. I mean, typically you'd say that's probably going to be a 3-point game because they're trying to get you to be at that. But I don't know. I mean, I think the way the playoffs are going, my opinion, you're almost better like if you think the favorite's going to win, laying the points in this low of a spread, and if you think the underdog's going to win, just take a money line because it's a close enough spread. I'm not saying like that when it was like 7-point spread, 10-point spread, but like it's a conference championship game. These lines are close already. Mm-hmm. If you like the Eagles, lay the 2.5 points. You will be disappointed if they win by 1 or 2, but you know, do you want to pay 150 for your money line odds when you really only have that 1 or 2 points that you're like trying to cover there? Right. I don't think that's worth it. And again, I think that is why the line is like whatever it is. I think you have it listed on here at 145. But like on mine, it's 150. So either way, those are, terrible odds for just picking a money line favorite when 1 or 2 if they lose by. But again, yeah, Vegas is Vegas for a reason. They're trying to they know that the line's low enough that people are probably just betting on the money line and not the spread. So they're just going to keep it that way anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Great rule of thumb too, right? Like, especially for that underdog, like don't pick an underdog unless you actually don't get cute and pick the points. I know it worked out for the Jaguars last week, but most of the time, you have to really believe that an underdog has a legitimate chance to win the game to pick them. That applies usually more in the wild card and divisional rounds because there's more variability, where at this point, we have the clear-cut 4 best teams in the NFL, with all due respect to the Bills and the Cowboys. I think these are the right 4 teams to be here. So anybody can win, and the spreads and the money lines reflect that. But I agree with everything you're saying. All right.
Yeah.
Just thought that was interesting. All right. Well, Tommy, I'm going to let you lead us off here. Again, for the playoffs, we're picking against the spread as we do every game, every game, every week, all season long. But then we're also picking the straight up winner, the money line, who's going to win the game. And then we are betting the over or under. No hook in this one. Interesting. 46 flat. So we'll see how that plays out. But Tommy, you've been on the Eagles literally since the preseason. So I'm going to let you lead off with your boys here. Fly, Eagles, fly. Tell us what you're going to do.
Yeah, and actually you let me right into it because I am going to take the Eagles here. I think if you go back and look at that Cowboys 49ers game, it wasn't a game that the 49ers necessarily won, in my opinion. It was a very even game. The only standout performance was from one Dak Prescott, and I think that he lost the game for the Cowboys more than the 49ers won anything. And now Brock Purdy's been able to handle there's been a couple iffy moments throughout the playoffs, but he's been able to do that at home against inferior teams. Now he has to go east on the road into a raucous Philly crowd and try to handle that. And I just think that that's a whole other beast. So I think that this is where the 49ers run ends. So I'm going to take the Eagles. I'm going to take the Eagles to cover the 2.5. I'm going to take the Eagles to win, obviously, and I'm going to hit the under on 46 because I think both teams have good enough defenses, and usually the later you get into these playoffs, the lower scoring games tend to rise to the top. So yeah, give me the Eagles. Shout out to the people of Philadelphia, by the way. For those that didn't see last week, They had the night game, but the parking lot wasn't set to open until 4 p.m. because there was a lacrosse game going on at 1 p.m.
Incredible.
So savvy Eagles fans bought tickets to the lacrosse game so that they could use the parking lot before that and just absolutely get after it for a 12-hour pregame and tailgate. And it clearly showed because the Eagles just absolutely dismantled the Giants.
It reminded me of, do you remember like in 2014 when the Patriots got annihilated by the Chiefs and it was like the Patriots dynasty is over, Tom Brady's done, Dilfer and Steve Young are yelling about it on TV, and that was the Bill Belichick we're on to Cincinnati post-game press conference. And that Cincinnati game, I don't know if it got flexed or if it was just scheduled for prime time, but Sunday night at Gillette Stadium, and that crowd was wild. I was there. We did not tailgate at 8 a.m. because the parking lots just don't open. It's usually like 4 hours before, but you can go park at Patriot Place. And we and many other fans found plenty of libations in the multitude of restaurants. I actually started with Mai Tais with my now wife and my brother-in-law and his wife. And the four of us had a great time. And we all know what happened, right? Patriots go on, they win that game. That crowd was insane. Tom Brady hit 50,000 passing yards for his career in that game, which is crazy because I think he's over like 75,000 or something insane now. 100,000. I don't even know where he is, but it feels like it was yesterday and it was so long ago. But anyway, the point is, I think that shit works. Like when you have a crowd like that, so the Eagles, good on you. That's a brilliant strategy. Just a 12-hour rowdy pregame. That place was loud and it showed, right? They just annihilated the Giants, who I think we all picked them to cover the spread, which violated that rule that I just told you. Probably because we all thought that there was a chance that they could win that game because we didn't know how Jalen Hurts and Lane Johnson were going to look. Fair to say they might have alleviated some concerns?
Yes and no. I wouldn't say that they alleviated concerns because Jalen Hurts didn't even have to throw a lot. He only had 16 completions. He had 150 passing yards. So it's not like they really had to put a lot of stress on it. The flip side of that, though, is that he probably was able to get more rest than he would on a typical game day Sunday.
Yeah.
Which could probably lead him into a stronger showing this upcoming weekend.
He was smart about it. Like he wasn't, I don't think he was running to contact as much. He definitely played safe, which you would think maybe would hurt the Eagles, but clearly by the score, or maybe it was just their opponent and the Giants, maybe they were frauds. I don't know.
Could be. They have a legit defense though, and it's just when they all the respect to Richie James and Hodgins because they probably should be knocked down, but like they should be a 2 and a 3 instead of a 1 and a 2. But when you're going up against the secondary like Phillies, then it's just game over at that point.
That's exactly what happened. Carl, what do you think?
Man, I mean, it's Philly. I mean, they do have a home field advantage that could come into play here, but like team versus team, I think San Francisco is a better team, and I think that's also why like typically you give a home team 3 points for the spread, and with it being 2.5 as a spread, that means they think San Francisco is slightly better on a neutral site. And I know we're not playing this game on a neutral site, but for me, I'm gonna take the better team overall, and I'm gonna go with the 49ers here to win and cover. And I like Tommy's analysis. I think it's going to be on the under. I have it projected around like 39 points total. We saw them play against Dallas last week in a lower scoring game. We talked about the week before how San Francisco has been really good at putting up points. I think they're realizing like, hey, in order to win these games, going like last week and then this upcoming week, it's going to be ball control. It's going to be moving the chains. It's going to be letting the clock run, playing defense, and slowing down the other team's offense and not worrying about outscoring them because you don't want to get in that battle. Like on offense, let your defense rest, let them do the work, let them stop. You don't want to rush down the field, score your points, and then have to have your defense go on no rest because you're going to get in a shootout and you don't want to do that in the playoffs. You want to control the pace. So I do think it's going to be a lower scoring game. We'll talk about player props and stuff later, but I think I don't feel comfortable picking a specific touchdown scorer in this game because there's not going to be many touchdowns scored, in my opinion. So you're kind of rolling the dice there. I mean, Christian McCaffrey could score, but if they only get a chance to score 2 touchdowns, it could go to 2 different people. It's easy to pick Christian McCaffrey anytime scorer when they're scoring 5 touchdowns. He's probably going to get one of the 5. But when they're only scoring 2 touchdowns in a game, then I would stay away from anytime touchdown scores and look at some other things there.
For sure. You guys nailed it. The only thing I'll add on the defense, I agree completely. Like, Carl, my picks mirror yours. Obviously, we know how I feel about the Niners. So I'm going to pick them to cover. I'm going to pick them to win. Tommy, you have those islands. And I'm also taking the under in this game just because of the defenses. Listen, that Dallas defense, listen, I've been on the Cowboys all year, and I like to dump on them, and I had no faith in them for a variety of reasons. Dak Prescott probably chief among them, but the defense was legit. We saw what that score was. The only defense left that really rivals the Dallas defense that the 49ers have to play is the Eagles. This is the most difficult defense they will face for the rest of the season. Not to say that the Bengals or Chiefs are a cakewalk. They're definitely not. But the Philadelphia defense is legitimate. In terms of total DVOA, San Francisco number 2 in the season, Philadelphia number 3. Weighted DVOA, though, San Francisco number 1 overall, Philadelphia number 5. But then we just jump over to the defense here. San Francisco, number 1 total DVOA defensively. Weighted DVOA, they're number 2. Philadelphia, 6th on defense and 9th weighted. So Philadelphia is good. They're legitimate. But we've also been telling you all year that the Eagles and the Cowboys and the Giants, for that matter, had basically the 3 easiest schedules in the NFL. Eagles and Cowboys were tied, and Giants were right after that. I've always felt that this was what we would see from the Eagles this year. They were so talented, and they had the schedule. There was no reason they couldn't make a run to the divisional or conference championship round. And then it was a question of who they were going to face. If you told me they would be facing a 7th-round rookie quarterback in the conference championship game in the preseason, I'd tell you that the Eagles were going to the Super Bowl. But something about this Niners team, the poise of Brock Purdy, listen, he almost threw a couple balls away, but somehow he manages not to. And all he has to do is remain mistake-free, which is a challenge against a defense this good. But with those playmakers, I think you're in business. So I like the Niners. Obviously, I'm going to take the points. I'm going to take them to win outright. But I'm going to take the under as well because I'm wary of this defense. And then if the Niners make the Super Bowl, we can kind of talk about in the future show how we feel about that. But for now, I'm with you, Carl. Niners, and under.
Love that. I mean, you've been all right picking straight up, so I'm okay with that.
Love it. I don't have any special ways to bet this. I don't really feel like I need a tease. Because then the under here, I don't know. I don't want to get 6 points because we did this last week, right? I did that with the Chiefs and the total. So I teased them down and then teased down the total, and that hit for me. Fortunately, that was lucky. But I don't if you take away 6 points and make this 40, that's a really hard line to guess over under, right? 2020 game. I don't know if I would want to go over or under that. 46 is just high enough that I don't feel good.
I would feel good about going up. I would say take the under on the tease, and that way you could tease it up to 50 something, and then take San Francisco to plus 8.5 if you think it's going to be a 1-score game, if it's going to be a close game. But I mean, we've seen the Eagles win in a blowout. We saw the Bengals beat the Bills in what we thought was going to be a close game in a blowout. So it really could go either way. It is tough to do, but totally however you want to play it.
Fair. I like that strategy. I might actually do that. Tease it up to 52 and go under that instead. Because if you like under 46, then yeah. All right. I like that. Get a little value there. Good. Any other thoughts here on Eagles and Niners?
No thoughts about the Eagles Niners, but I did want to bring up about the how the Cowboy season ended. I thought it was very ironic and fitting that after the heated Dak Prescott versus Kirk Cousins debate we had to start the season, both of their seasons end the exact same way. Well, not exact same because the Cowboys just had like a coaching brain fart, which we should expect from Mike McCarthy, but both of them on fourth down, throwing passes short of the first down marker and getting stuffed. Maybe there shouldn't be a debate. Maybe they're both just quarterbacks that have different tool sets, but they're both just really good in the regular season, and they just don't have the football IQ to handle the postseason.
Yeah, go ahead, Carl.
Oh, I was gonna say, so like Pat McAfee was talking about how like that is the worst play of all time, not the play that Pat McAfee was involved in previously.
That Colts punt, yeah.
So I'm waiting for like a couple of years from now, someone on this Dallas team to come out and tell us exactly what that play was supposed to look like. Because how do you run that in practice and like not have that scenario at least one time? Like are we just running it against like a ghost defense? Like, all right, we're gonna throw it here. He's gonna lateral. We're gonna chuck it across the field. Convoy. It's like, do you not practice it against a live defense like ever? Like,
there's no way that our running back center is gonna get pancaked immediately.
Well, it was like
it's a great plan. It's a great plan, but it was just like, why are you throwing? I don't know. I don't know what the ideal plan was, but like if you're gonna try and lateral it down the field, why even throw a 10-yard curl or a comeback route? Just throw a straight screen, get your guy the ball, and then start working it down the field. Like I'm okay with putting Zeke on the field in place of a lineman, so you have an extra skill guy, because like you can only have like one report as ineligible. But like, why are you throwing it in the middle of the field where your lineman can't go downfield to block anyway? Like if you throw a quick screen, get the ball to someone behind the line of scrimmage, let everyone go. Now you're setting something up. Fine.
Now that I think about it, do we think the Tony Pollard injury threw any wrenches into that play specifically? Like, do you think that shuffled around where players are supposed to be?
Yes, it's possible, but I also think that, I mean, to me, like looking at it, and obviously I wasn't in like the huddle or practice or anything, it almost feels like he was supposed to catch it and he was supposed to lateral to the guy on that side, and that guy was going to have two linemen to block so he could throw it across the field. Because I don't know if it was T.Y. Hilton on the other side of the field or CeeDee Lamb, but they had like a guy on the other side also with a line of like linemen. Mm-hmm. So it almost felt like, hey, we're going to try and come down this side, get people to drift here, throw it, and have the convoy on the other side.
Like a backwards pass so that you get like a double pass play.
Right. Like we're going to throw it.
And then have like the whole everybody to lateral, like all the skill players.
If they need
linemen up front to block out there already, and then skill players behind you to lateral. But if you can catch them off guard with a double pass and you get them confused because there's linemen lining up.
Yeah, to me, I mean, it seems like there's too many moving parts. And again, I don't know if this is the exact play, but to me, it seemed like one of those like hook and ladders, but that was to draw the people to that one side of the field so they could throw it across the field to have a convoy going the other way, almost like the Music City Miracle where they like throw it across the field to run it down the sideline, like with a convoy. But I mean, not like laterals like here to there. Like across the field. Because at that point, once it's live, like you can block anywhere. You know what I mean? So it's like it's almost like you get the pass across the field, you have the lineman blocking, like, and again, you're hoping that you have linemen on cornerbacks because like now you're on the outside of the field. But
it's a good point. You know, like now that we talk about it that way, like I almost wish they had run that play with like 7 minutes left on second down instead of with 4 seconds left on fourth down with 60 yards to go. I mean, I guess that's your kitchen sink play if it works, but you're also betting on getting the defense. Like the defense is betting on a Hail Mary hook and lateral kind of play anyway. And then like the whole point is you got to catch the defense off guard and get really confused and essentially hope that nobody lines up as a lineman and pressures the quarterback. Or in this case, Ezekiel Elliott, who got absolutely trucked through, and then they forced Dak to throw to who's number 9. I didn't even know who that was. Is that T.Y. Hilton, maybe? I don't know. And then he got hit right away. So
yeah,
like I don't hate the idea of that play, but like when the defense is fully expecting it, feels like the worst time to run a variation of that play. If that's what it was supposed to be.
I am obviously not a special teams coach in the NFL or at any level. In my mind, I two things. One, I don't understand why they don't run like some sort of like rugby type play where it's not blocking based, it's all like pitch based. Like, okay, we're running an option here. Like, I'm running. If the guy's going to tackle me, I'm going to pass it to the next guy. If they're not going to tackle me, I'm just going to keep running. You know what I mean? Like, you should have like, I'm not saying like one guy has to take on the whole team, but like, it's almost like you have your skill guys in a line. You have the people like the linemen blocking, the blockers blocking, and you have your skill guys ready available to like pass it. You know what I mean?
Like a variation of like the flying V.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know if that would work or not. I have to see it and try it and practice, obviously. And my other thought is like, why don't they put on like offense, like people that are on like a kick return? Because the ineligible linemen don't have to report as ineligible if they're like lineman numbers. You only have to report as ineligible if you're like Zeke, because he's an eligible receiver number. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you put out there like your kick return team of like linebackers that know how to block on kick return, like why don't we just run like a kick return or a punt return? They know how to block. You can scheme up like some sort of like return, and then like as a last resort, you're lateraling because it's the end of the game. You know what I mean?
I do.
Why throw it to wide receivers who are used to like catching and like running routes like that? Like, just give it to a skill guy like Naheem Hines and just let him run.
I now think that you should be the special plays coach for the Cowboys.
Thank you.
And Tommy and I should come be your special plays assistants.
I would love that. We could be special friends.
I was like nothing more.
That's our off-season podcast, the Special Friends Cast.
Isn't that kind of the show we do every week anyway?
More or less.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry for that tangent, but I had to bring it up. That I just thought that the parallels of Kirk Cousins and Dak Prescott seasons it was funny.
No, it was good. We only have 2 games. We need more things to talk about. One quick bookkeeping note here that I just noticed a headline for. 49ers defensive lineman Charles Omenihu was arrested Monday, so yesterday for us recording on Tuesday. But I guess it just came out today from the San Jose Police Department. Suspicion of misdemeanor domestic violence. He played 54% of defensive snaps on the line for the 49ers, which was second only to Nick Bosa. So he's important. He was day-to-day with an oblique injury anyway. Shanahan expected him to be available to play prior to the news of his arrest. So I don't know. Keep an eye on that. 4.5 sacks this year.
He'll be available on Sunday. I guarantee it.
I would imagine ongoing investigation, unless listen, if you're like an Eagles like deep state staffer, you're trying to find a video. Like you're paying $1 million for a video to get that to TMZ this week. But if it exists, we'll see. All right, let's jump over to the AFC Conference Championship game. This one should be very exciting as well, where the number 3 Bengals head to Kansas City to take on the number 1 seeded Chiefs. The Bengals, controversially, especially in Tommy's opinion, are favored by 1.5 in this game on the road. Total is 46.5. Money lines here: Cincinnati minus 130, Kansas City plus 110. But we would be remiss not to tell you that this line has moved dramatically. So we saw it open. I think we've all seen a little bit different here, like 2.5 to in favor of the Chiefs. We've seen some different things. The story that I read about just like the history here of this movement has the Bengals opening at 1.5 point underdogs. So the Chiefs are favored by 1.5 Sunday night. Mahomes gets hurt. People start hammering the Bengals. Can't believe they're underdogs. The Bengals had moved to 2.5 point favorites. As you can see, they are currently 1.5 point favorites on DraftKings, which is where we get all of our lines from. But that basically I don't even know. I'm trying to do math here off the top of my head. 4-point swing from 1.5 point dogs, 2.5 point favorites was the fourth most for a playoff game over the last 20 seasons. Couple quotes in here. The global market movement was a combination of Mahomes' injury and a flood of Bengals money coming in, according to PointsBet. Also at PointsBet, the Bengals had 80% of the total money to win and cover. Hence, a lot of the line movement. I don't think it would have been so dramatic without the Mahomes injury, though. BetMGM, similar, somewhere in the 70 to 80% range of total money on the Bengals to win and cover. A couple other facts for you guys. 9 postseason games ever have seen an underdog at open shift to a favorite. In those 9 games ever, the team that opened as an underdog before, or maybe this is since 2000. I'm not positive, but I thought it was ever. Either way, big sample size here, 23 years or all time. The team that opened as an underdog before shifting to a favorite has been 4-5 straight up and 3-6 against the spread since 2003. And since 2010, that team is 1-5 straight up and against the spread. The only win, Tom Brady and our New England Patriots, 2014, when they opened as dogs against the Seahawks, they shifted to favorites. Of course, they won that game on a last-second Malcolm Butler interception. So with that, and covered. Good teams win. Great teams cover.
Tommy and I were in UMass Amherst for that. We went wild.
Going crazy.
Jello shots for everyone.
We had some great Jello shot moments.
And then we crashed the car on the way home, but that's okay.
You did.
I remember it snowed like 10 inches that day. And us dumbasses were just like, yeah, we can drive through this, no worries.
It's totally
we
fine.
could not drive through it.
Leave it to Carl and Tommy, special friends, to be unable to handle 10 inches.
My defrost didn't work, so we were scraping the ice we had the ice scraper in the car, scraping outside the on the windshield.
We shouldn't have made it back alive.
My toes froze because we didn't have any heat.
Were you trying to drive from Amherst to the Adirondack Valley?
We successfully drove from Amherst to North Andover. Yeah.
Well, we stopped at a 99 and Andover because we could not feel our feet because it was freezing cold.
It's so funny that you stopped there because
maybe it wasn't Andover, but
no, it's at that point you're basically home. Just keep going.
We couldn't see. It was so bad.
What a story. What a story. Okay. A little more history for you. So we all know Joe Burrow 3-0 against the Chiefs. Kind of crazy. 2 of those games have been in Cincinnati. One of them has been in Kansas City. Both of the regular season games have been in Cincinnati. The AFC Championship game last year was in Kansas City as well. So we have a rematch here. Bengals at Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl from the AFC. In the regular season game this year, the Bengals won 27-24. Last season's AFC Championship game, the Bengals won 27-24. Last season, during the regular season, Bengals won 34-31. So Joe Burrow is 3-0 against Patrick Mahomes and has never won by more than 3 points. It's been a 3-point victory every single time, which means this is going to be one hell of a game.
However, he has covered the spread by an average of 7 points, which means he's not been a favorite either time. He's been a couple-point underdog every single time. So
right. Well, not an underdog this time, not anymore. Although Carl, you and I both did manage to get Burrow as a dog before that line completely shifted. So good job by us.
Totally.
Since we're on the Bengals. But I'll let you lead off here. I should probably do it because these are my 2 teams, right? I'm all about the Bengals, and I've always been all about the Chiefs. But Carl, why don't you lead us off?
Totally. Like you said, I was on the Bengals before all this stuff happened. I had a feeling that it was gonna like go in the other direction. I knew that like it wasn't gonna get any higher. I knew my odds weren't gonna get like any better. It was just gonna get worse. So I took it very like early on Monday, and then throughout the course of Monday, I was texting. I was like, "We should record this podcast early because this line is moving." It was moving, and it kept going. So, obviously, we're gonna take the lines as we have it currently. But like that's the benefit of trying to get ahead of the lines when you think it's gonna go in the other direction. So, I will be taking the Bengals. I'll lay the points. And again, like I already have it at a good number, so I would still bet at money line at this spread, even have to lay a couple extra dollars for it. But I'm going to take the Bengals here, and I think that the over under is honestly like in a pretty good spot. I'm leaning towards the under, but again, it's not something where I'm super confident in. So a tease might be in play. And even though I'm taking the Bengals outright, and with the spread, I wouldn't be opposed to someone teasing the Chiefs up, especially given they could win the game. Tease the Chiefs up, tease the over, well, tease the under, so the points go up and you get more room for that under to hit. Same as we did in the last game, underdog, add the points, and then under, so you can get that total. But for my play, I'm going to take under on the total. So both games, I took the underdog, kind of, because the Bengals were originally, and the under.
Bold strategy, because every game in the Super Wildcard weekend hit the over, and every game last weekend hit the under. So we'll see what this weekend brings.
Very true.
It's a good stat, Tommy. I think we said that in our little group chat, but I totally forgot that. Okay, good. All right, I'll jump in here. I mostly agree with you. So I just think the Bengals are better. They're more well-rounded. Burrow has evolved to the point where I kind of think he's right there neck and neck with Mahomes for the best quarterback in the NFL. All due respect to Tom Brady, who I think on any given day is still the best quarterback, and I'll always take him to win a game over anybody else if everything else is even. But I think Burrow's right there with Mahomes. And the defense is better. The offensive skill players are better. If you just traded Mahomes and Burrow right now, I would still take the Bengals. So it's not like, I don't think there's, you know what I mean? Like it's not like a drastic, it's not a Burrow thing. Although I do really enjoy him, and I think he's great in these clutch moments. He's got a lot of Tom Brady in him. I felt that way for a long time. I felt that way at LSU, but just the command he has, there's just something about this guy. And you want to talk about a window closing. The last 5 years, championship games, the AFC has gone through Kansas City. Really, since they lost to the Patriots, but they were there, and it's been their conference ever since. They've been to 2 Super Bowls. They won 1. Is that window now shut? I don't know. Probably not. But I think this rivalry, this Mahomes, Burrow, Chiefs, Bengals, I hope is one that we're going to be like, it's what we thought Bills, Chiefs might be last year for the 2 previous years. I think we're actually going to get that with the Bengals and the Chiefs. So it's going to be close, but given that the Bengals are still only laying 1.5 points, I'm going to take them to win the game outright. I will lay those points, so I will take them against the spread. Pretty comfortable with 1.5. But for the total, I'm going to go over because the 3 previous times these 2 teams have played each other, it has gone over 46.5. So the lowest score we've gotten is 27-24. That's 51 points. And then we also had a 64-point total game in the other one. So I just think I don't know. They're just good. I hope it's good football. I don't really care about the total, but I do think the Bengals are gonna pull this one out. Part of me kind of thinks that I hate to say this, I just don't think the Chiefs are necessarily as good as the Bills were. But the Bills were hurt I don't know. I'm trying to decide what I want to tell you is that I think this could be a blowout. Like the Bengals could win easily, and I could be really wrong about that. And I will eat crow because I love the Chiefs and I love Mahomes. But I'm going with the Bengals. I'm going with my guy Joey Burr. So Bengals over for me.
You know, it's funny you mentioned the potential that this matchup has in the coming years, especially considering how young both Mahomes and Joe Burrow are. I can't imagine Roger Goodell is too happy about it because there's a reason that these are two mid-Western markets for the NFL. Thank you for catching that. But yeah, and you mentioned one of his nicknames, Mr. January, Joey Burr. These are earned because he has a reputation. I think after this weekend, we can start calling him Joey Burrow because you two are sheep right now for following the money the way that you are. All right.
We led the money.
We really did. We were part of the reason that the money shifted.
80% going into Arrowhead against this Chiefs team. Now, yes, the Bills was a wash because they had nobody on defense left that was very, very healthy amongst their starters going into the season. But Von Miller was probably a huge loss for them. Joe Burrow had all times a day to throw in that pocket. This is a whole other beast with Frank Clark and who's the other name that I'm blanking on right now? Chris Jones. Frank Clark and Chris Jones are going to tear it up. That offensive line is a little injured on the Bengals side. I think that this is a great opportunity for Kansas City. I don't think that they're going to blow them out like I was predicted from the Jaguars game last week, but I think that I think it's insane that the line has shifted as much as it has. I understand Mahomes is injured, but in the 2018 season, he also had a high ankle sprain that Andy Reid said that one was worse than this one is now. And he came back the next week fully healthy, played the Raiders. He dropped 440 passing yards and 4 touchdowns on them. Oh, and then he went on to finish that season and led them to a Super Bowl. So, much like you say that Joe Burrow has a lot of Tom Brady traits, I think that people forget that Patrick Mahomes is one of the toughest MFers in the league right now. He has constantly played through injuries and he has excelled. He's been more successful injured than most people ever give him credit for. And I think that this Kansas City team is just they're feeling it right now. They know that even though Mahomes is young, a lot of their tertiary pieces are on the older side. So I think that they're playing as this kind of quasi one last ride kind of deal with this incarnation of this team. And the Bengals came in there and beat them by a field goal last year, and they're not going to forget that. I don't think they're going to let that happen again. I just think that this is the matchup where the tides turn into KC's favor. And to get them as an underdog is simply astounding. So I'm going to take that all the way. I'm going to take KC to cover. I'm going to take KC straight up. And much like you, Pat, I'm going to take the over here because even though this is a better defense than the Bills could show last week, this is still two preeminent offenses in the NFL. And I think that it could be it's going to be a high scoring but close game.
All excellent points. Mostly tough to combat. Here's all I'll say. I think to your point about the Andy Reid comments on the Mahomes ankle sprain, I don't know. I don't remember seeing him limping the way that he was on this weekend.
I completely agree. There's zero doubt in my mind that there's some bit of coach speak in there. Just trying to keep morale high in the team. But
the thing is, for me, I would take the Bengals either way with a healthy Mahomes. So with an unhealthy Mahomes, this line feels too low. And then the other piece talking about going into Arrowhead and how difficult that is. Chiefs as a home favorite against the spread for the last 10 years in the Andy Reid era. 42-45. That's it. 42-45.
How many of those have they been in the underdog for?
This is so I'm saying as a home favorite against the spread. But they are an underdog, right? So, but the point, so they open as favorites, and that whole idea of going into Arrowhead, right? I could do home underdog in a second. The other number I have for you here, Andy Reid, right? In his entire career, not just with the Chiefs, with the Eagles, 7 losses at home in the playoffs as a favorite. So the recipe's there. I don't know that facing Andy Reid, I don't know that going in, not that that's what you said, Tommy, or that going into Arrowhead is as scary as we make it out to be. It's cold, but it's cold in Cincinnati. It's loud, but it's loud in Cincinnati. Mahomes is a great quarterback. So is Joe Burrow.
Are you ready for a conspiracy theory?
I love it. Go for it.
All right. So Ron Torbert is going to be the referee for this game. And the Chiefs do not play well. It's not that they don't play well. It's just that they don't win when he referees. But he reffed one of Kansas City's games last season, which was a regular season loss to Cincinnati, 34-31. That game had 2 4th-down penalties against the Chiefs defensive backs in the end zone on the Bengals game-winning field goal drive. Crazy. Maybe he doesn't like the Chiefs and likes the Bengals. I don't know.
Where's he from? What's his hometown?
That's a great question. I don't know.
What's his name again?
I don't
Maybe he
have
remembers
his.
that
I don't
and
have
he
his
has
Pro
some-
Football Focus page.
Maybe he remembers that, and now he has some mistakes he has to rectify.
He calls more penalties on home teams and road teams.
Crap.
Crazy. Penalty yards. January 2nd at Cincinnati. This is the Chiefs record. January 2nd, 2022 at Cincinnati. Chiefs, 10 penalties for 83 yards. Cincinnati had 5 penalties for 62.
So he usually calls more penalties on the home team, but in that matchup where it was Kansas City on the road, he called more penalties on the road team.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
I don't know where Ron Torbert's from, but he went to Michigan State and then Harvard Law School. This guy's he's a lawyer, a practicing lawyer during his day job. So getting yelled at by football players and coaches is must be nothing for him.
This is his first AFC Championship game, I believe.
It'd be really funny if you just researched another guy who happened to be named Ron Torbert.
It'd be weird if he also had a ref's uniform and an NFL hat on Wikipedia.
I mean, someone could have just grabbed that and put it onto this dude's Wikipedia page.
This is true. Tommy, to answer your question, the Chiefs have only been a home underdog 8 times the last 10 years, and they are 4-4 against the spread in those games.
I have to imagine most of those were pre-Mahomes era.
Yeah, when did Mahomes get drafted?
I think it was 20. I think he got 2016, and he got into one. I think it was like 2017 was his first year, because 2018 he went to the Super Bowl. Because 2017 it's either 2017 or 2018 was his first year.
Sounds about right. About 5 years ago.
So, Andy Reid era, 2013, 2014, 2014, and then December 2017. I can't remember if Mahomes was in that game. They went 3-1 against the spread at home, but definitively in the Mahomes era, 19, 19, 21, 22, 1-3.
As a home dog?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So listen, Arrowhead, it can be done. It can be done. That's all I'll tell you.
Can be. I just think the amount of money and I understand the reason that it switched is because of the amount of money, but it's just one of those that, like, I think Vegas is going to be very happy after this weekend.
I mean, yeah, listen, same thing in a vacuum. If you told me that I could get Patrick Mahomes as an underdog at home in the AFC Championship game back in August,
and that over 80% of the money was against him.
Yeah, if you told me that, I'd be like, well, what the hell happened? What's wrong? Right.
Fair.
But just to see Mahomes at home, AFC Championship game, getting points, you're either up against the greatest team of all time, or this is an anomaly and you have to bet that. Right. So it goes against like everything, like the rules in my heart, but just watching these two teams, because I like every week all year, because I love them both. I don't know. Chiefs hate to cover too. They just don't cover. I think they're like 6-11 6-11-1 against the spread or something this year, something stupid. Double-digit spreads. None of this is one, but double-digit spreads are even worse. Listen, maybe we'll be kicking ourselves. Chiefs would be fun. Chiefs Niners. That's a fun Super Bowl rematch. Listen, Chiefs Eagles. No matter what we get, I think it's going to be a good matchup. Either way,
I agree. So, I think any of the potential 4 matchups is a good final game for the season.
Fun little fact here. We have the 2, 3, 4, and 5th rated DVOA teams. So essentially this is the 4th closest Final Four in terms of DVOA, not just by rank, but by like it goes into their percentages too. So there's like been some where it's been like 1, 3, 4, 5, or like 4, 5, 8, 9, but like their DVOA percentage was all a little bit tighter. But by total DVOA, San Francisco second at a 27.6 DVOA, Philly 25.2%, they're number 3, KC 23%, they're number 4, Cincinnati 18.1%, they're number 5. So this is the again, this season 2, 3, 4, 5. Bills were number 1 for those keeping score at home, and the fourth closest Final Four we've ever had. 4.1% difference from best to quote unquote worst or something. Standard deviation, I think, is what we're looking at. I'm looking at numbers on the fly here, but it's very close. All right. With that said, we are going to make some Super Bowl predictions once again. Tommy, I'm assuming you're not going to change. I'm not going to change mine. So just to recap, Tommy, you have picked the Eagles over the Chiefs. That was your pick to stick it. I'm going with 49ers over Bengals. I got that 30-1 a couple weeks ago. Loving that for me right now. Carl, you were Bills over Eagles. Your team is gone. So I'm going to make you pick a new winner. Are you sticking with the Eagles? And are you who are you picking to win?
I'm just going to go Bengals over 49ers. Do you have 49ers over Bengals?
Do I have no? Yeah, I have 49ers over Bengals.
Yeah, I'll go Bengals over 49ers. We'll make it different.
Give me the Super Bowl Island. That's fine
I can't say that I'm betting on the Eagle, or I can't say I'm betting on the 49ers and the Bengals this week and then give you a Super Bowl prediction of Eagles Chiefs. It's just I can't do that. So
okay, fair enough. So it is now Bengals over 49ers.
Yeah, that's what I'll take. I don't care.
Okay. Just to recap, so I've been giving you odds to win the Super Bowl every week and exact
To be
results.
honest, I say this, and then next week, I mean, when my spreadsheets come out, we'll see who I pick in the Super Bowl. But for right now, for this week, I have Bengals and 49ers, so that's what I have to pick in my Super Bowl. And if you're gonna make me pick Joe Burrow or Brock Purdy, I got to go Joe Burrow in the Super Bowl. So
fair enough. There's a little bit of variation in different books. But because we always go with DraftKings, I will give you the DraftKings numbers here. And I'm all about this disrespect. Although this is kind of shifted, so this is interesting. It shifted because the Bengals line shifted. Okay, odds to win the Super Bowl. Eagles, plus 240. Bengals, plus 250. Chiefs, plus 270. 49ers, plus 330. So 49ers, worst odds to win the Super Bowl. Exact results. Carl, you said Bengals over 49ers. Tied for the second to worst odds.
good.
At 7-1. With the Chiefs beating the 49ers and the 49ers beating the Bengals. So still value if you like what I'm going with the 49ers to beat the Bengals. Best odds, Eagles to beat the Bengals, plus 475. Bengals to beat the Eagles, plus 500. Eagles to beat the Chiefs, plus 550. Chiefs to beat the Eagles, also plus 550. And then all at 700, we have 49ers to beat the Bengals, Chiefs to beat the 49ers, Bengals to beat the 49ers, and last, plus 750, 49ers to beat the Chiefs. That, I don't know. These all just feel so plausible. It's tough when we're in the Final Four.
That's true.
Wicked.
All right.
But we know we're guaranteed to see 3 good football games, so I'm not complaining about that.
Quick fun fact for you: who do you think No cheating. Super Bowl MVP. Who's the first defensive player on the rankings?
Right off the top of my head, Joey Bosa.
I was gonna say isn't it Nick Bosa that's on the 49ers? Joey Bosa on the Chargers?
Yeah.
Whatever. I picked a person that is eliminated from the playoffs. Don't judge me.
Nick Bosa. I was gonna say Nick Bosa.
It's him.
Yeah.
Plus 5,000 for Super Bowl MVP. Okay. All right. Well, Carl, get that shot of espresso because we have made our picks for every game around the NFL for conference championship game weekend. We've told you who's going to win the Super Bowl. There's only one thing left to do. It's the Week 21 Conference Championship game. Parlay Partay, people!
Number 15. Whopper, Junior, double, triple, Whopper, flame grill taste with perfect toppers. I rule this day. Lettuce, mayo, pickle, ketchup, it's okay. If I don't want that, it also go away. Yeah, Whopper, any Whopper, my way. Whopper, Junior, double, triple, Whopper, flame grill taste with perfect toppers. I rule this day.
Don't worry, I edited it together anyway.
But
Cool.
between this ad campaign and the M&M company marketing clearly for a Super Bowl commercial hit, they're not doing anything about the candies. Don't you worry. Between this and the Whopper campaign, I'm out on ad campaigns.
You're just out on marketing.
Yeah. You want to know the two things I want the least right now are?
Super Bowl commercials.
Burger King and M&M's.
Whoppers and M&M's.
Whopper is, ironically enough, not the candy.
Whopper the candy goat.
All right, it's the Week 21.
Best movie theater candy is a Whopper, I feel like. I only get it at
That's a different podcast, but it's also very incorrect.
All right, if we're doing that right now, give me
Let's
Bunch
do
of
a
Crunch.
It's Bunch of Crunch and cookie dough bites. Easy.
All right. Who's going first? Me. I'm taking Bunch of Crunch.
Fuck you.
What's number 2?
Peanut M&M's.
I mean, I was gonna say I'm fine waiting for 3 because I know he's not gonna take the cookie dough bites, and it's those two.
Junior
Watermelon. I used to get Junior Mints all the time at the movies.
Watermelon Sour Patch.
Oh.
Goated.
If you're gonna get Whoppers, you get a medium popcorn with butter, and you throw the Whoppers in there and shake it all up.
Exactly. Show us how you shake it up.
Tommy? Can you speak and then do that?
What song is gonna be placed over this? I can only. It's gonna be like the Jeffrey Dahmer theme song.
Okay. It's time for the Week 21 Parlay Partay, people. Woo! Let's ride. Wow, what a song we had. Way to go. Whoever edits this podcast is pretty amazing. Carl, you've got a little prize picks. I don't want to spoil it. So I already did. So you go ahead.
That's totally fine. The prize picks, I guess it's technically a parlay because
the parlay.
So if you're unfamiliar with prize picks, real quick, it is more or less all props. You're not necessarily picking team totals or anything like that. It's all player props. And you're taking over under on the number. Mm-hmm. I have a 4-player NFL. You could do it across the sport, but obviously we're an NFL podcast. So we are going 4 picks, 4 players, over unders, and of course it's always fun to root for the over, so I made sure to pick all overs on this one.
Hell yeah.
We have, and I'll break it down a little bit, but the 4 players are Brock Purdy over 215.5 passing yards, Joe Mixon over 56.5 rushing yards, Isaiah Pacheco over 47.5 rushing yards, and Dallas Goedert over 45.5 receiving yards. Okay. Breaking it down one by one. We'll see if I can get these screenshots on the screen when I'm editing it. We'll see if I'm that creative or not. But Brock Purdy last 5 games, he's averaged 248.4 passing yards. He's only gone under 215 twice. One was way under versus Arizona on January 8th. That was the last week of the season. He threw 178. Last week against Dallas, he threw for 214, which is, of course, 1.5 yards under 215. So we feel good about that. Amazing.
I mean, I really like the Eagles secondary, and like I said, I think that Brock Purdy has shown a little, like he's shown his rookie status in flashes a little bit these past couple of weeks. So I personally don't know if I would go over, but it's a low enough number that I'm fine. I'm fine with it.
Totally. And like for my personal projections, I have it closer to like 260. Maybe a little inflated, but I like 260 as the number. Again, his average,
buddy.
his average over the last 5 was 248.4, but again, that's including a 178 yard game. That's drawing down the average. It was 234, 284, 332, and then 214 otherwise. So
That Arizona game kind of doesn't count.
right, exactly.
True.
Moving on to Joe Mixon, his last 5 numbers don't sound great. I'll still read them off in reverse order from most recent game to latest game. We have 105 versus Buffalo last week. Keep that in mind. Then we have Baltimore in back-to-back weeks, 39 and 27 versus New England. He had 65 yards and Tampa Bay 21. All right. That 21 versus Tampa Bay, not great. Don't know what happened. Did he get injured? I don't know. I didn't look up the stats. However, what I do know is that Buffalo and Kansas City, in my mind, have very similar defenses where they are meant to slow the pass down, and their offenses are also meant to score points. Their defense is not designed to win them any games. They're just designed to keep their offense at least in line with the other team. So I feel like this is going to be a pretty good rushing game, just like we saw against Buffalo. That's how Cincinnati wants to play this game. Obviously, we know they can throw the ball, but they're going to be running the ball to mix it in. So 56.5 yards for Joe Mixon, I think is going to be plenty. I think as a team, they rush for closer to 100 yards. And with Joe Mixon being the leading back, I think that 56 yards is definitely within reach, even though his last 5 games would say otherwise. Are we on board for that one, or do you disagree?
That one I'm on board with.
Okay, beautiful, perfect. The next one, Isaiah Pacheco. He has not been the number 1 running back all season. We're usually seeing him getting the carries, but McKinnon also seeing a share. However, he's got big play potential. He could break a 50-yard run and cover this easily. It's over 47.5. Last 5 games, he's averaged 66.8. There's only one time, and that was versus Denver on January 1st, that he only got 31 yards. Otherwise, he had 95, 64, 58, and 86. So, again, I don't know why it's at 47.5. I could be wrong. But, again, based on his average and what I think his big play potential is, I think it's worth taking the over at 47.5 because, again, he could bust through the line. They're going to try and get him involved. He's athletic. He's good enough that he could bust a big run. So that's where I'm thinking on that one. You agree?
I like it.
Perfect. And our last one here, Dallas Goedert, tight end for Philadelphia. If you are unaware who this man is, over 45.5. He's gone over 45.5 in his 3 of his last 5 games. One of those games that he was at 45, which is a half point under. So not that we can count it, but again, he was right on the edge there. The last time he didn't get 45 yards was in November 14th. He had 23 versus Washington. That was the game that they lost. Was it a Thursday night game? Question mark. It was one of those night games that they weren't supposed to lose. That was their first loss of the season, correct? Versus Washington. That late in the season.
I think so.
So we know that they didn't play well that game anyway. But otherwise, he's catching the ball. He's getting yards, 45.5. And then, to be honest, I think he's going to get closer to 65. So, again, if you're looking at player props in general and you have the option to get over 50, over 55, I don't hate that. But, again, for this 45.5, I'm going to take that. And that's our 4-person prize picks. If you just do a straight four player entry, you get 10 times your odds. So $100 wins you 1,000. that would not be the flex play. That's just a straight up power play. But if you want to flex play it because you think one of them is not going to hit, go for it. Doesn't matter to me.
I love it.
All about Carl, do you have to choose 4 players for this thing, or
nope? You can do 2, you can do 3, you can do 4. If you do 2, it's lower odds. What?
I just sound like
Grandpa Tommy. Do you have to use 4 for this thing?
What is this thing?
Prize Picks is available in Massachusetts, not New Hampshire, but gambling is not allowed in New Hampshire, or gambling is allowed in New Hampshire, but not in Massachusetts. So if you are going to do this Prize Picks and you're listening in the Northeast area, you want to do your Prize Picks in Massachusetts.
Massachusetts really dropped the ball to not get us able to gamble live legally by the NFL season period when they did it so early on, like in the summer, but by the playoffs, just a big L. True. Anyway, Tommy, go ahead.
No, because I tried to use the app to set up an account or anything, and now it's asking me to deposit money, so I don't have the numbers on me, but I do have a little hashtag Mahomes par Lankle to throw out there.
All right.
Okay, go.
I don't know if that pun didn't work as well as it did in my head.
No, it was great.
But to go back to the well that you were talking about last week, Pat, I was gonna say I think the over on Jerick McKinnon receiving yards, I think it's either 22.5 or 27.5. I would hit the over. Like I said, I think Mahomes is gonna be fine, but he's gonna have to probably throw quicker passes to avoid the rush a little bit smoother and just keep that ankle as stable as possible. So I think McKinnon, who he didn't get the touches last week, but he was on the field for a heavy amount of snaps that he has been on for the past few weeks. So I think we could see some positive regression in that sense for him. Likewise, I would put the Mahomes rushing under because, like I said, he's going to want to protect that ankle as much as possible. So he's not going to be going for the long runs that he usually does. And then the other thing is, if there's a weak spot on the Bengals defense, it's their cornerbacks, and loudmouth Eli Apple is their number 1 corner, and I think he could get handled by Juju Smith-Schuster, who is a bigger body than him. So I would take the over on Juju's receptions prop. So over McKinnon yardage, under Mahomes rush yardage, over Juju receptions. Parlay those into winnings.
Yeah. So I don't have anything for Mahomes rushing because it's probably not available because of his ankle.
I took it off the board.
Yeah. You were looking for McKinnon receiving yards, right? Not rushing yards.
Yep.
What did you say? I have 29.5.
I couldn't remember. I knew it was in the 20s and it was a half. So
yeah, he's averaging 30.5 over the last 5 games, but he has 0 receiving yards in his last 2. That was Las Vegas and the Jacksonville.
Yep.
So I don't know why he's not getting involved, but I guess that's neither here nor there. And then you had receptions for Juju.
Yep.
So Juju over the last handful of games has actually gone like 2, 2, 2, and then 3 catches, but he had a big 10 catch game versus Houston. So his over under is set at 4. Honestly, for me, like I have Juju at 6 catches, so I don't hate that. 6 catches and like 65 yards. Let me see what they have projected for his receiving yards while we're here. They have his at 44.5. which he's been underperforming yards wise, but that's also because he's getting 2 or 3 catches. So if he can get his 4 catches, I don't think that like 50 or 60 yards is out of the question. So
yeah, I think that they've just been funneling it towards Kelsey. The offense has been funneled towards Kelsey the last month or so.
Yeah.
Which I mean, obviously you can't blame them. He's one of the best tight ends of all time. But I just feel like they're gonna like. The Bengals are obviously going to key in on Kelsey, and trying to shut him down. And I think that's where, when you factor that in, plus Mahomes needing to get the ball out quicker due to the ankle injury, that's where McKinnon and Juju will step up and take those targets and yards.
Yeah. You can go.
Speaking of Kelsey, his reception number is not available on Prize Picks, and I don't even know if it's on DraftKings. His receiving targets is only at 10. Which feels disproportionate because here's what I'll tell you really quick. So number 1, last week, Travis Kelce, 14 catches for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns. Every other Chief, 13 catches. So that's one thing. Bengals this year versus tight ends, 102 catches for 1,100 yards, but only 3 touchdowns. 102 sounds like a lot, but they're only averaging about 5.6 receptions per game. Chiefs tight ends in their matchup earlier this season, 6 catches on 8 targets for 77 yards. Travis Kelce, 4 for 56 and a touchdown on 6 targets. So he did score one of 3 touchdowns allowed by the Bengals to tight ends all year. But that the target number and the reception number was a little bit lower.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised to see that number. I was thinking just go over on the targets and over on the catches because they're not going to go that high. But I don't know. It's tough to bet. I don't love. Maybe we stay away from Kelce.
Think about the other tight ends that the Bengals see year in and year out. They see Pat Freiermuth twice a year. They see David Njoku twice a year. They see Mark Andrews twice a year. They've seen a lot of really good tight ends in this league. They know how to not shut them down, but they know how to put a lid on it and stop the chunk plays from that position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're not like great against tight ends, like you said. They were not like awful either. So, like I've Kelce projected at like just under 7 targets, so 6 to 7 targets, and then about 5 catches for 48 yards. But like compare that to Kittle and Goddard. Like I have like Kittle 7 to 8 targets and 5 to 6 catches, and Goddard at 9 targets and like 7 catches. So I think Goddard's going to have the best day of the tight ends. But all 4 tight ends, well, Hayden Hurst is it Hayden Hurst?
Yeah,
but he's not great. He's not a big name, but 3 of the 4 are like big name tight ends in this league. So,
all right, really quickly, this is what I got for you because I just like kind of straightforward. Don't mess around. I hate totals, so I don't know why I'm doing this, but do it for the odds, do it for the pod. So here's Pat's playoff parlay. Niners money line, Bengals money line. Getting some juice there with the Niners being underdogs. It was better when the Bengals were dogs too. Under 46 in the NFC game, over 46.5. Over 46.5 in the AFC game. That gives you plus 1350 odds. And if you want better odds and you want to take the Bengals against the spread and just lay those, again, it's just 1.5 points right now. You can bump that up to plus 1465. So Niners to win, Bengals to win, under 46 in the NFC, over 46.5 in the AFC. That's my bet for you. Pretty good value.
I'm here for it. Well, you don't though, but you like it for Pat.
I like it because I like it for my own sake. If Pat's making a parlay, then it's probably good for me.
True.
Pat's been hitting his parlays in the playoffs. Fun little fact here. We've talked about how good I was straight up this year. 63.5% winning percentage, 171 and 98. I entered the playoffs with 98 straight up losses on the season. I have 99 straight up losses total right now. I am 9-1 straight up through the first 2 weeks of the playoffs. So up to 64.5% winning percentage, hoping to get to above 65 before the end of the year. Give me 3 more wins and no more losses, and I think we get there. That's all I have to say. Good job by me.
As a man on 2 islands and 2 matchups, I hope
You're fully rooting against me.
Yes, both of you.
I know, it's crazy. You're Eagles and Chiefs and Niners and Bengals. Well, somebody's going to be happy and somebody's not. All right, Tommy, take us out.
All right, folks, for the second to last time of this football season, good luck at your box office, especially you Eagles and Chiefs bettors.
Box office. We're at the movies.
Oh, my bad. Good luck at your sports book. Fudge.
Whoppers are the best candy.
Get your bunch of crunch here.
We love cookie dough bites.
Whopper, double, Whopper, single, double, triple, Whopper. You rule.
I love it.
Joe Burrow.